Okay, hello everybody, welcome back to the channel. Now I thought we'll do something a little bit different, have a little bit fun, something a bit away from the military subjects that I've been doing recently. So we're going to do the Bond Bug, the old Airfix classic, the one that used to go for dozens and dozens of pounds on eBay a while ago. But now Airfix re-released it about a year ago with new clear parts and new transfers as well. Now, I never built the original kit, so I don't know what to expect. I have been inside the packets, but we'll have a quick look at it. The Bond Bug is based on the old Reliant Robin, the original plastic pig, if you know what I'm talking about. So we'll have a quick look at the kit. Like I said, I have taken a few bits off the sprue and had a look at them, and the molds look pretty good. They don't look like we're going to have much issues with them. The fit looks good. The clear parts are brand new. I believe Airfix remade these and they look spot on. So you can see like the like clear plastic windows like you get in your granddad's greenhouse. And so they've got it's not a mold fault, that's how they actually look. So it's like a plastic, like a carrier bag type of door. Obviously gone for lightness there because these things were just made of fiberglass. They obviously had like the Reliant Robin chassis, which I don't know if it's like depicted in here. It might not be. Let's have a quick look at the instructions and we'll just see where we're at. All right, the chassis is made up of several components. The rear axle, because it is rear wheel drive, obviously you've only got one wheel at the front. It's the old mini engine, longitudinal to the back axle. And it's pretty much a straightforward build from then on. It looks pretty accurate actually. Ask me how I know. The figure looks extremely groovy from the 1970s, so we're going to give him probably a purple shirt and some brown trousers. So like I said, we're going to have a bit of fun with this one. And we'll start off by building the chassis. I mean, the transfers look quite good as well. So, I mean, this has certainly knocked the bottom of the market out of second-hand Bond Bugs from Airfix. So hopefully this should be quite an enjoyable build. I have ordered I have got some TS12 from Tamiya, orange spray paint. I don't know whether to go straight from the can and just spray it or decant it into the airbrush and have a bit more of a controlled approach. But I have used these before, they do spray quite well. So without further ado, let's stick the plastic pig together. We'll start with the chassis. So as we can see, I put excuse me, 4 of the cross braces on the chassis rail there. I'll line up the other one. It's got a good, nice, positive fit. And make sure I get them lined up correctly. Which is like so. And they slot in quite nicely. So I'm just going to clip these 3 in. The middle 2 and this back one here, and just give it a drop of glue just to hold them in position. Like I say, it's a quite a nearly decent positive fit. Now the next thing I'm going to do is to square it up. I'm going to use the bottom of the body itself as a jig. So we've got our locating holes there. Helps if I put it the right way around. You can see that. Making a right hash of this. There we go. And that's not in straight. Click that in. Now there we go, that should hold it nice and square. And then we'll move on to do, I might do the body next, because I'm going to paint it orange. So like I say, I have this orange from Tamiya. I'm actually going to decant this into the airbrush when I paint the body. I don't want it to go on too heavy because it's only 1/32 scale, so it's quite small. Primer, I'm just going to use Halford's white primer. I'm not going to use grey primer on it because the orange, it's quite a translucent colour, like yellow, it's quite difficult to get on. So I'm going to go with the white primer. I'll finish putting the chassis together. The engine is built up as well, but it's quite basic. It's your typical mini engine, but with a longitudinal gearbox. And we'll build it all together and basically give it a blast of matte black. But otherwise, that's quite Jesus Christ, man, useless. So it's quite a decent way of getting the jig nice and square on the chassis. Right, having squared up the chassis after bouncing it off the table, there's the back plate to go on. So there's a little back plate fits on there. It's not the best of fits, but it's not too bad. So I'm going to use some slightly thicker glue, which is the home roll glue. If I get the lid off, I've been away for a week, so it's glued on somewhat. A little bit glued down the edge there. I'm not going to be too stingy with it, because I really want to get the plastic to melt and almost like force out a little seam, so it'll be easier to clean up. And it's a reasonably positive fit. And there we go, get that lined up, and then we'll let that set and we'll see what it looks like, because I really need to get rid of this gap, so I want like a smooth finish on it. So the next course of action is to paint this horrendous piece of engineering, or excellent piece of engineering, whatever you prefer. Yeah, so it's like a ladder chassis with an engine gearbox. It's very, very simple. Suspension front and rear, like a swinging arm for the front wheel, but that's built. So I'm basically just going to go outside and give it a blast of grey primer, then a blast of satin black. Basically that's it. Then we'll come back to that, maybe do a bit more detailed paintwork on it. The shell is pretty much together. I've built the interior because I really want to just airbrush the orange on, and I don't want to really flood it with the paint. But I've realised I can put this bottom cup, the bottom shell on, it can glue on, and the chassis can fit no problem. So I think I'm going to try and do that. I do need 3 hands, mind. I can get it lined up like that, but then I want to run some glue along there. Yeah. Right, I'm going to struggle. I'm going to do that. I'm going to get this glued together, and then I can see if there's any work needs doing on it. But it's a pretty good fit. So I'm going to do paint the chassis, paint the engine, glue that together, give this a coat of white primer, and then we'll move on to spraying the orange, and I'll show you really how we do that. So I'm going to decant the paint into the airbrush, so I've got more control over it. But I'm just going to go on about it again. But the fit is excellent. Look how great that fit is for that front part of the shell. That's really great. Well done, Airfix. I don't know if they modified the molds or not, but everyone seems to hammer Airfix kits from the 70s. Yes, and there were some dogs as well, but this one seems to be pretty sweet at the minute. Okay, we have the top and body shells primed up in white, looking very good, and I've just given them a quick rub down with some wet and dry just to flatten them off a bit. That's the top bit of the shell. I made a little jig to hold the bottom bit of the shell. So there we go. So basically need to paint it orange. This is the orange I've decided to use, which is Tamiya TS12. It's a little bit orangey, if that makes sense. Now I don't want to just spray it from the can, because I think it's going to be a bit too much heavy coat for such a small model. It's only 1/32 scale. So the idea is to use these straws, pop it over the edge. I used to have plastic ones which were a perfect fit, but these paper ones are a little bit loose. Thank you very much for the turtles in the ocean. So I'm going to try and hold that on there and spray it into this bottle. I'll just try and see if we can get a look at that, and hopefully it doesn't go everywhere. I'll use a bit of that, and we just want to put a bit into the bottle. It usually works quite well. So that's filling the bottle up quite well. Let's see what we've got. Get rid of that. So we've got quite a bit in there. It does bubble and froth, which is always quite amusing. Just kill the compressor there. Right, the airbrush has been cleaned out. We'll get some on the airbrush. We'll get a couple of light coats on first, and then we'll go with a heavy coat and put a bit more on if required. There we go, bubbling away there. I don't know why it does that. It's like lightly carbonated. So we'll give it a light coat. What we need to do, just so get it to key. You get far more control with the airbrush as well, which is really good. So you can see. Then we'll give it a slightly heavier coat. Just get the edges sorted first on the underneath. And we'll go with a heavy coat. Right, I'll give it a couple more of that and we'll see what it looks like when I come back. Okay, now I have painted the orange. It's not brilliant, but it's not too bad actually. There's a little bit of orange peel on it, but I think I'll live with it. I could just sand it back and flatten it off and paint it again, but I'm not going to. One of the reason why is I really want to move on to the next project, and you've got to draw the line how far you want to go with a particular model. If I was starting to flatten it off and paint it again, I probably wouldn't enjoy the project that much. I'm enjoying it at the minute, so I really don't want to put the handbrake on it, literally. I've given it underneath a quick coat of black paint. That's Vallejo water-based paint. Just quickly blasted that on. The chassis is pretty much built up. I put the wheels and tyres on, and there we go. So there's still the exhaust to go on, and the wheels themselves, which are like little mini lights. So I've painted them silver. What I'm going to do now, I'm just going to give them a little dab of Citadel Shade Nuln Oil to bring out some detail, because I think they're like mini lights, so they should have like a hollow center. Let's find the right brush for that. Let's have a look what we got. That one will do. So this one will do. So I'm going to put a little bit of tape there, so I've got something to hold it on with, and I'll just give a little dab of that into the recesses, and it'll give a nice bit of shade, bit of depth to the wheel. Don't want to flood it too much. There we go. I'll let that dry, and I'll do the other two. Now the next thing I just want to point out is the driver. So I've put his arms on. He's really stretching out quite a bit, and when you put him in the car, just slot him in that way. Quite difficult to fit. It's a bit tight, but it'll go in. I promise you it'll go in. I've had him in a few times. There we go. So his hands are miles away from the steering wheel. So what I think I'm going to do, I'm going to cut the steering wheel off, or cut the steering column off round about there, and actually glue it into his hands in the right position, and then just paint them all together and get him sitting in the car. The seats have to be painted black, the handbrake, gear lever, a bit on the instrument panel, the steering wheel, column and pedals need to be painted black, but that's about it. It pretty much is still orange inside. I'm busy on with the side windows as well, which are like this plastic, like greenhouse effect, like sort of like a clear PVC plastic. I've painted the bottom black, just mask that off and give them a quick spray of black, because they fit on like that. The top bit is a transfer, so I'm going to use that. I could have masked it and painted the whole lot, but because the transfers come with the kit, I want to use the transfers to see what it looks like. But that's where we are at the minute. So I'll get the wheels on, I'll get the chassis fitted to the bottom of the vehicle, we'll get the exhaust on, and then we'll start painting the interior, and then we'll get the main focus of the driver painted, get the transfers on, and get the lights on. But it's coming together quite nicely, mostly enjoyable. As you can see, I'll just move the light across here. As you can see, I've now got the steering wheel firmly in the grip of this groovy cat, and I'll just show you what I mean when I test fit them into the Bond Bug. And get the steering column to line up, and well, a bit more fiddling to be done, but I'll get them to fit there really nicely. Next thing, we're going to paint the interior of the black seats. The colour I'm going to use is Game Workshop. It's from Vallejo, basically black. Now I'm going to be using water-based paint on a highly glossed surface. Now that usually is a recipe for disaster, but what we need to do, we need to thin the paint, not too thin so it acts like water, and not too thick that you won't get nice smooth finish. So I put some on my palette there, and I'll show you what I mean. If it's too thin, it'll just behave like water and just sort of like run away. As you can see, it's doing that. So we need it a little bit thicker, and if it's a little bit thicker like that, you see, it'll adhere to the surface. It might require a couple of coats, but we're going to have to be very careful painting around the side there to get a nice straight line. So, oh, you didn't see that, sorry. So you can run it up the side there, we've got a nice straight line. So I'm now going to go and paint the seats, the gear lever, the handbrake, a bit of the radio, and the steering column and pedals. And we'll see what it's like when I come back. So there we go, that's the interior done. So I basically just painted the seats black, a little coat of matte gloss varnish with a little dry brush. A little bit of a wash there just to add a bit of shadow and a bit of interest, bit of texture. A little bit of dry brush on the tyres there, so that's brought out the detail in them. Now the next thing to do is there's a lot of silver trim on this car. There's a silver trim runs all the way up the edge there. You can see that. Now you can either mask it and airbrush it, but I'm going to try a paint pen from Posca. This is the silver pen, 0.9 to 1.3 mil. Now I'll use a lot of paint pens that work for specific reasons, black, red and white, but I've never used a silver. Now that's it there. So it's quite a thick nib. I've already got some paint through. So we're going to try, I'll try and show you what I'm going to do. So I'm going to use the edge of, oh God, I've already painted the wrong bit there. So I'm going to use the edge of the pen and not look at my phone and try and see if I get some paint on that. I don't know if you can see that going on. There we go. Now it's obviously going onto a gloss surface, so it might pool a little bit. So I'll let that dry and I'll give another coat, and I think the more I tilt the pen towards the body, I'll get a thicker line. Okay, that's looking alright actually. So I'll let that dry and I'll put a few more coats on, but I think the paint pen is a winner. Right, well let the silver paint mug dry. So you can see it looks quite good on the windscreen there as that dries with some wood glue or some crystal clear. So that's how the glass has been held in, little drops of crystal clear. So we're going to have a nice clean windscreen. Next thing I thought we'd move on to the transfers. We'll try and get one of them on. So I've already cut the bug one out, which goes right around the back there. So I've just put some water on it. I know I'm going to have no problems with these because Airfix transfers so far, the new lot, are absolutely superb. And it's obviously going onto a gloss surface. So we basically just need to free this off, and it should be any second now. As you can see what I'm doing. So I'm just putting a bit of water on the transfer there. Rather than dump it in water itself, I like to put the water onto the transfer so you've got a bit more control. I should have done a smaller transfer, shouldn't I? So that's not moving yet. A bit more water. Well, I'll give it a second. And a seamless cut, jump cut, there we go, and it moves no problem. So grab me tweezers. So it's going to go on the back of that, a bit more water on it. And we'll try and get the centre. And we'll line it up. Where's my knife? Where's my knife? Where's my knife? There she is. So it's miles away there. This looks like it might be slightly too long. Oh, it is. Okay, so we'll try and even out the difference. And then I'll just trim the transfer off once it dries. So that should about do. We'll get it nice and straight on the top. So I'll run it as close to that back spoiler as possible. I don't know why you want a spoiler on one of these. Put it down straight. Sorry, put it down straight. Try and get it nice and straight with that back panel line. Check the other side. That looks pretty good. A bit more that way. Down a bit. A bit more to the back. And right, we'll let that dry. I'll put the rest of them on. Oh, God, I messed it up. Right, I'll let that dry. I'll put the rest of them on. But I'm going to have no problem with these transfers from Airfix. Absolutely superb. Right, now I'm going to move on to the figure. And I thought, well, let's keep it with a 70s theme. And I thought we'll go with Fred from Scooby-Doo. So he has a white shirt, sort of bluey trousers, brown shoes, and he does have a blue collar, but this figure doesn't have it. So these are the colours I'm going to choose. So that's for these trousers, that's for his shirt. The neckerchief's going to be like a bright white. Shoes are going to be like beige brown. Skin tone is going to be sunny skin tone. And the hair is going to be a horrendously pale sand colour, but obviously it's going to get washed and dry brushed. But we'll just start by doing a bit of the trousers first. I haven't used this pin for ages, so I'll give it a bit of a shake. We'll see what it's like. See how blue. I think it's a bit bluer than that. Maybe a bit lighter, but we'll see how it goes on. A little bit water-based paint. Thin coat is the. Sorry, you know what? I keep forgetting. I've got to show you what I'm doing. Thin coat is the way to go, and we're going to try and keep it within the lines, as it were. So, where's his shirt start and his trousers end? About there, I think. Right, so basically I'm just going to go along and put all the base coats on, and then we'll see what it looks like. Right, as we can see, that's the figure with the base coats put on. Looks pretty good, I think. So what I'm going to do now, I'm going to give it a couple of washes. I'm going to use Citadel Agrax Earth Shade for like his hair and these trousers, and for the skin I'm going to use Reichland Flesh Shade. But I might thin them down a little bit, so I'm going to try a bit of this first, a bit of the Agrax Earth Shade, but I'm just going to thin it down a little bit. I don't know if you can see that, you probably can't. So a little bit of water there, and we're just going to apply it to his hair and see what happens. So I don't flood the figure too much. Put a little bit more on there, around the back there, and it'll sit in the recesses, and we should get some decent sort of effect there. It's a little bit more on the sideburn area and underneath, around the hairline. Isn't he lucky to have a hairline? Right, okay, so I'll do a bit of the flesh as well, then we'll come back and see what it's like when it's dried. Now that I've actually got the figure finished, as you can see, I've put him in the car. Looks a lot better than my Brian Lane figure, so I'm definitely improving with them. I've just used like white glue to put him in the seat for now, in case his arms touching the side of the body and that, and push him in a little bit. But otherwise, we're going to move on to doing the lights quickly. Where have I put them? So basically, I've just painted them silver on the back. So we've got the back's painted silver, and if you look on the instructions, we've got sort of the indicator, fog lamp, I assume it's fog lamp, and tail light. So I've gone for the orange, and I'll just quickly paint them for you to show you what I mean. So I've got Tamiya clear orange there, and we'll basically just paint the front side, the front side indicators. Of course, you don't have indicators in the middle, do you? Right, so a bit of clear orange on there, you can see, and you get a nice finish with the silver back in there, nice little lens effect. And we'll do the other one. Don't want it to be too thick, mind. It's actually getting a bit old, this paint. It's getting a bit gooey. So that's what I'll do for them. So they're the indicators done. I'll do the tail lights, and we'll get them stuck on. And there we go. We are finished. I've completed the little oh, it's a bit of polish on there. I've given it a little quick polish. I need to just wipe a little bit off there, but otherwise we're done. We're complete. The little Bond Bug is done. It was a lot of fun doing it. It's not exactly my most stellar vehicle build, I can tell you that much for nothing. But otherwise, it's quite an enjoyable little kit. A blast from the past. It is not the most detailed of kit, but it fits together very, very well. There's no issues with the fit whatsoever. You get a nice figure inside it. It is really small, 1/32 scale. It's a nice little build of a very rare little car these days. I don't think there's many about. Having a quick look on the internet for some inspiration on the interior paintwork. They're very basic. Obviously very popular back in the day. But there we go, we're complete. I would thoroughly enjoyable build. But let's move on to something a bit more meaty this time, possibly a plane. Or if anyone wants to see me build more cars, just let us know. I do have a Belkit's Metro 6R4 in the stash there somewhere. I am thinking about doing that, but weathering it down as it's been on the rally circuit, because I used to be up to their nuts and mud, as it were. But otherwise, thanks for watching, and we'll see you in another video sometime soon.